It's International Women's Day, and to celebrate, we decided to pair two women at the top of their field in the video game and entertainment space to have a conversation about their careers, what they're working on, advice for newcomers, and a lot more. Please enjoy actress Kelly Marie Tran, known for her roles in Star Wars The Last Jedi, Sorry for Your Loss, and most recently, Raya and the Last Dragon, out now in theaters and on Disney+, in conversation with BAFTA award-winning voice actress Cissy Jones, known for her roles in Firewatch, The Owl House, and Call of the Sea.
Yay!
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Hi, it's so nice to meet you too. I am such a fan of you, and as I sort of have started getting into voiceover and I'm learning more about just how difficult it is so cool to be sitting here talking to you. I just think you're so incredible. I'd love to hear.
Very mutual. I'm a big fan as well.
Oh, thanks. I'd love to hear how you got started in voiceover and what you love about it and all of those things. I want to know everything.
Okay, me first, then you.
Okay.
I got started in voiceover kind of randomly. Like, I have a business degree, and I worked in the Silicon Valley in startup land for 10 years and super hated my life. And I decided one day to make a jump. So I started taking classes at a voiceover school and kind of fell in love. It was like, I don't know if you've ever been in those situations where you feel like you just keep hitting your head against a steel wall, and then you find the thing that you're supposed to be doing, and it's like a zipper just kind of comes together. Um,
Yeah.
so that was very much my experience with voiceover, and I jumped in both feet and hit the ground running. I started working in San Francisco, and then I moved to Los Angeles shortly thereafter, about 10 years ago, and I've never looked back. It's been amazing.
Weird stuff happens in the woods. It could be other campers. They could be having a bad mushroom trip. We really don't know.
Yeah, I love the metaphor of zipper coming together. I feel like I can totally relate to that. I sort of had a similar, actually, I don't know. I feel like I've worked a lot of really crappy day jobs in my life, but I definitely went to college thinking like, oh, maybe I'll go to law school. Like, it just like definitely felt directionless.
Yeah.
And then one of my day jobs to sort of put myself through college was working at a headshot studio. And my boss was shooting all of these, mostly kids actually, who were pursuing acting. And it was the first time I thought to myself, oh, maybe I could do something like that. And I think that I always had loved performing from a really young age and sort of started out as a singer, like singing in church choir and things. And and then that's kind of how it started for me, really.
What do cats and Droon have in common?
They have no soul.
And they both hate water.
Yeah, it's wild to think about now.
I'm curious, when I remember being like 6 and telling my parents, like, I think I want to be an actor. And they were like, no, nope, you want to get a business degree and you want to do the finance. What did your family think about you wanting to be an actor?
Oh, they still think it's a bad idea. Definitely, my parents both came from Vietnam and they're both refugees, and there's absolutely no, they didn't have the sort of luxury of thinking about like, oh, like, let me have this dream, if that makes sense. I feel like having a dream is a luxury. And they sort of didn't believe it was possible, but also thought it was insane. Like, it's just so far out of reach. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
When did you get hooked? Like, what was the thing? What was the first time that you felt like, oh, I need this in my life? What was it?
Yeah. Okay. This is going to sound so weird and lame, but in 3rd grade, we did this play. It wasn't even a play. I'm pretty sure it was like just a little skit that was in like a school textbook to teach children about Thanksgiving. And it was called Molly's Pilgrim. and my teacher was like, I was such a shy child, like never wanted to speak out of turn, like got nervous raising my hand to answer questions. And my teacher made me read Molly, which was like the person, like the main character of this made up skit about Thanksgiving. And after that, I remember just like sort of feeling like I went into a different place, into a place where I was okay speaking and okay being heard and seen. And I think that was, yeah, really the first time for me. How about you?
Wow, what a game-changing moment. That's so interesting. Just to think about like
Yeah,
what could have changed if that teacher hadn't taken the opportunity to let you come out of your shell a little bit. That's so cool.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I remember I've always been kind of gregarious and not shy. Um, but I remember wanting to do a play in high school of Fiddler on the Roof, and I couldn't be the lead character. Not that I would have booked it anyway, but I was a cheerleader at the time, and I had to do a cheerleading thing. But I I got to do like a background ghost in one of Tevia's dreams or something like that, and I had my one line shout out of standing up and going, "Who could be mistaken?" And like the nerves and the stomach and the thrill of it, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing. This is really
Okay, wait,
cool."
hold on, because I was also in Fiddler on the Roof in high school, and I had one line, and it was the line right before yours. My line was, "Why not?" Do you know what I'm talking about? My line was, "Why not?" And the person after me said, "Mistaken."
Oh my God, that's
That's
hilarious.
hilarious.
As soon as I found voiceover, I was like, "Oh, this is all of it." Like, it doesn't matter what I look like, how old I am,
Yeah.
what shirt I'm wearing, if I have makeup on, like it's just coming and playing, and I fell head over heels in love with it and continue to be head over heels in love with it to this day.
Yeah, that's something that I've noticed in voiceover that I, very much appreciate. It's just exactly what you said. The idea that there's this sort of freedom as an actor, as an artist, to sort of really be anything. And it's not limited to the ways in which the world limits you because of what you look like. And
Yes.
that's such a empowering thing. I'd love to hear about. So you said you started taking voiceover classes. Was that in San Francisco or was that in LA when you started?
Yeah, it was in San Francisco. There's a couple of dedicated voiceover schools up there. So I jumped in. I mean, I was doing 4 or 5 classes a week, and they're not cheap. So I
Yeah,
taught myself
nothing's
to
cheap,
engineer.
right? In the
Right.
acting world, there's like a business off people who
Thing.
want to become in the business or whatever. Yeah, it's wild.
Exactly. It's never cheap and it's never overnight. Anybody who's telling you
Yeah,
that is lying.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I taught myself how to engineer. So if I couldn't afford to take a class with a teacher that I wanted to meet, I would go engineer for them and get to chat and hang out and learn and watch other people go in the booth in which I also learned just as much. Um, and
That's
just did everything
amazing.
I could. Yeah, it was really, really cool. It was also really motivating because I was working for a particularly abusive human at the time.
Mm.
And I was like stuck in this office with no windows, much like I am right now. But it had those horrible like blinky blinky lights overhead, and I was getting migraines every day. And um, so at the end of the day, I was just like, something's got to give. I got to live.
Yeah.
I got to make a change. So
That's really wonderful. And like, what a gift to the world that you listen to that voice inside yourself. I think that is such a hard thing to do, especially as a young woman, is recognizing, like, oh, wait, this is what the world is telling me I should be doing. And this is what that voice inside me is telling me to be doing. And
yeah,
it's scary, you know?
it is.
That's
And
really,
and I
really
at the
cool.
time, yeah, at the time I was 30, so it was a weird time to make that kind of change. You like you said, you
Yeah.
have the map. You go to college, you get the marriage, you get the house and the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids, but then if you go off rails, what does that look like? It's really
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, that's really, really beautiful. I think that's something that I think about all the time is I never want to feel like I am suddenly falling into a pattern. And that's also not just with my life, but also with acting and creating characters. Like I feel like I always want to feel like I'm innovating and learning something about that character, but also about myself and about humanity. um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 1,000%. I heard you do an interview where you said half of an actor's job is to stay sane, and
Oh
I
yeah.
love that with my entire soul. How do you stay sane? How do you maintain sanity in all of this?
You know what's crazy is I don't think my life is. I mean, obviously, I get to do this thing for a living, and it's wonderful and magical and incredible. But 80% of my life is just normal people stuff, and I you know, we're living in a really crazy time with everyone wearing masks outside, but it also makes it easier to just do whatever I want all the time, like go to the grocery store and I don't know. I just feel like I've been really lucky in that I don't feel like I am recognizable to a point where it hinders my normal human existence, and that has been the greatest gift because so much for me of being so much of being an actor for me is just like studying human existence, and I feel like I never want to do something that's gonna get me in a position where I don't think I can do that. um,
Mm.
but yeah, you're right. I'm also still trying to stay sane. Who knows, I might go off the rails yet. We'll see.
So when you're creating a character, for I guess on camera and voiceover, how much of yourself do you put in there, and how much of it is what you've observed in other people? I mean, obviously, I know it's going to be
Yeah,
different for each character, but
yeah.
um, like, do you have a formula for that, or is it just kind of like a mishmash?
Yeah, I want to ask you the same question too. After, but for me, it's always the first thing is always what's my way in, and I feel like that always comes from if I'm reading something and I feel like a very personal sort of, uh, I don't know what to call it, like a spark. It happens very rarely, I feel like, when I'm reading things. But yeah, it definitely starts from a really personal place. Like, what are the commonalities I can find between me and this character? And then some of it is me really being like, after I do all of the work of researching the parts that I might not understand about this person's life. For example, if they have a different job than me, then I'm reading books about that, or I'm listening to podcasts about that, or I'm listening to music of that time period. And I'm always trying to find just different ways that inspire me into this person and into the circumstances in which they find themselves. But yeah, I guess it's sort of a mishmash of both. I think the goal for me is always start with the things that are common, and then surprise yourself with the things that you think are different, and maybe you might find something there that you might not have known before. Like, I think the dream is sort of discovering things in the moment on set. That's the dream. But
Totally.
doing enough research to get to that point is yeah, is also a fun thing. I'd love to hear from you, like how you create characters as well.
Well, quick question. Which character have you done that you felt was most personal to you, or maybe the furthest away from you?
Yeah. Mm,
I'm gonna put you on the
such a
spot.
hard question. I know. It's so weird because I feel like humans have such a unlimited wealth of experience. Like, there's so many things that we can relate to, and so many experiences that in terms of the people that I've portrayed that I feel like I relate to. Like, I feel like Rose was me at one part of my life, and Raya is me at a very different part of my life, and Dawn might have been me 10 years ago. um, but I do relate to all of them. So I guess that's a bad answer to your question, but I relate to
No.
all of them.
Honestly, for me, that's what helps make a character feel more lived in, is knowing that
Yeah,
it comes from a place of personal experience and recognition.
yeah,
Um, for me, it's very similar. There are some characters I get, and I'm like, well, this is nothing like me. So how do I find a way in? I one of my dear friends, Courtney Taylor, always says that she starts with what shoes a character is wearing. And that helps me figure out a lot too. Like, is this a Louboutin, spikes on the side of her heels type of woman, or is this like a motorcycle boot, or Keds?
yeah,
And that for me is kind of like an easy entree, particularly into voiceover, because so often we'll get an audition and it's due the next day, and so we don't have time to
yeah.
go, do all this research into uh, eras and things like that. But
Mhm.
some of the most impactful characters that I will always love and will always hold so near and dear to my heart are the ones that are closest to me. Um, Delilah, obviously from Firewatch, is very
Yeah.
close
I
to me,
love
but she's
Firewatch. It
thank
is
you, me too.
so good. It is so good. Do you play the games that you're in?
I'm a terrible gamer. Like,
Okay,
I
yeah,
have a
that's fair.
PS4, but I don't like the paddles don't make sense to me, or the controller, whatever the hell you call
Yeah,
'em.
yeah,
but she was kind of like a like an alternate version of alternative universe version of me that like zigged when everyone else zagged, you know?
Yeah.
She chose to go against type and not do the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids, and I love that about her. She has this freedom to her. But there's also a character from The Walking Dead named Katya who was not me per se, but was very close in circumstance, not zombies, but various life circumstances to someone that I love very much, who is a dear person in my life. And so I was able to kind of take her life experience and translate into Katya, and that was my first job. Like, Katya was my first job, and coming into it with
Wow.
this like personal thing was really helpful.
I love our son more than life itself. I need you to hear me. What you are saying, that he may not turn.
Do you ever miss your characters when you're done with them?
I do.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's a weird relationship.
Yeah, when Campo said that there was never going to be a Firewatch sequel, I was like, oh shit.
Well, we can campaign for that right here, actually. We can use this whole interview to campaign for Firewatch too. So,
Which, like, who do you miss?
yeah, I miss Rose. I mean, I maybe miss who I was when I played her. Do you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes I don't know that I could play her now. I feel like I'm different.
My sister just died, protecting the fleet. And you were running away.
I think so many times in our lifetimes we are constantly growing and learning, and again, like, the realm of human experience is so limitless. You can be so many different people at one time, but when I think about Rose specifically, I think about who I was then and how I was able to tap into certain parts of myself, and I don't know if I could play her again. But yeah, I think I miss parts of her.
She had such a beautiful, like, wide-eyed curiosity about her. She was so sweet, that
Yeah.
she was young enough that she hadn't gotten jaded, and I
That's
love
the
that
part
about
of it that I miss. That's the part of her that I miss, truly. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm like an old woman in the corner now smoking a cigarette, being like, I remember those days.
Back in the day.
I know, yeah. True. So
Yeah,
how
no, I
about you?
get it.
Who do you miss?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've been really, really lucky to play this kind of weird pantheon of just
Yeah.
insane characters. There's a show I'm working on right now called Owl House, and I play this witch who goes through a lot of things. And luckily, we're filming season 2, and it's great, and she's so much fun, and I can't wait for people to see where she goes. But I know that if and when this show gets canceled, I will miss her so much, because she's just so much fun to play.
Join me in the Emperor's Coven, Edelin. He could even heal your curse.
I'd love to hear about, okay, so I too have taken voiceover classes. This was before I became a working actor. I took classes at Collinson and Collinson in LA. I don't know if you've ever been there. And it was wild. It was really interesting because that was when I had not done any voiceover. And it was so wild to just be like, okay, here's the picture of your character, go. I still today, I'm like, it's such a wild, different part of the acting industry. And you're, like the biggest of the biggest voiceover actors. I'd love to hear. So you get a picture. You get like
Maybe.
a 2-sentence description. Yeah, maybe. That's the thing. Maybe a picture. A 2 to 3 sentence description. Also, the worst part is when you get a description and it's just plot. It doesn't tell you anything about the character. Can we talk about that? Hate it.
Yeah.
So the shoes come first, you said.
Well, it's
What?
helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. What else inspires you? Like,
Yeah, it's funny because I've just started teaching. I hadn't really been teaching before, but people kept asking, so I finally started. And
where are you teaching?
just at home here, like just over
I'm
Zoom.
like, should I take your class? Maybe I'll sign up for your class later.
Call me.
Yeah, I'll call
But
you.
yeah, it is a lot of what you do and on camera. It's defining the relationships that you have with people, not only with yourself, but also who you're talking to. What's the situation? Can you vary it up? Is there, a moment where maybe you're shouting over a battlefield and then you're going to have a really like intimate moment with somebody? I have this analogy in my head that when a casting director is listening to auditions, for a major AAA title, they might get 1,000 auditions for a lead character, right? So they're listening to the same thing over and over and over, and they might get 10 seconds into your audition before they click to the next. So in my head, and pardon my French, IGN, I hope it's okay if I swear, but in my head, they're eating a shitty sandwich. And it's my job to make them put their shitty sandwich down and go, wait, who was that? No, stop. Go back to that one, right?
Yeah.
Tell me how Raya came to be.
I auditioned for Raya a few times and definitely thought, never gonna get this. It's the same thing I thought about Star Wars, to be honest. I was like, this is absolutely way over my head, way bigger than me. There's no way. And the casting director, Jamie Roberts, is just such a wonderful human, and she really, really fought for me, I think, on this one. I really honestly think that she's probably the only reason why I'm playing this part. But yeah, the whole process has been
part in it.
Thank you for saying that. But yeah, the process has been wonderful and amazing, and I'm learning so much just about everything we just talked about how much it is a sort of group effort here. I am really excited for people to see this movie. I'm so proud of it, and I think the story is incredible. Yeah.
It surprised me. Like I didn't know much about it going in. I'd seen a billboard or two driving around LA, but I didn't know much about it going in except for the initial teaser trailer, which I'm not going to give it all away, but the teaser trailer is a very small part of the movie, and the actual movie itself was surprising and delightful and completely engrossing. I loved it. I love that it flipped a lot of things on its head. What you typically think with, XYZ in certain lore, it just flips it, and it was so much fun to go on that journey and to be a part of it. It was really cool.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah, I think that the filmmakers, our writers, our directors, Disney, everyone has been really, really specific about trying to flip what the idea of the word princess puts into people's minds. And I think that's done really well here. Raya, to me, doesn't really feel like a princess if we're defining princess the way that we have historically. She feels like a warrior. And I feel all the same things. I think that it's such a surprising watch. You're constantly being challenged, like in terms of recognizing what your expectations are, because you have seen movies that are that have historically, gone one way, and that ending fully made me sob. Yeah.
Yep. Same. Full heart. Same. But I love that with her, you get to be not only the warrior, not only the princess, you get to have goofy moments, which, I feel like in an effort to make like strong female characters, so often we forego the goofy, we're either like strong, badass, like rah, or like, oh, save me. And there's really not much in between for fun. And I loved that Raya got to have all of that, and the people around her, the characters around her, got to have those too. I thought it was really, really unique.
No, I agree. And I agree with that statement about how a lot of times people are like, oh, well, she's a female, she's a badass female, let's just write her as a man, and then we'll just make her a female. And I agree with what you're saying. I think I think that, there's a world where we can still, you can be a plethora of things and feel the entire gambit of human emotions. And I think that hopefully people, when they see Raya, they'll be able to see sort of all of that. And my favorite part of the movie, I've said this so many times, but my favorite part is that she just gets to be angry.
Now, to restore peace, I must find the last dragon.
I've never been able to convey this well in an interview, or just like even in my own life, I feel like when I'm trying to explain it with my friends, but I feel like if you're a woman or if you're a person of color and you're working at all in this industry, there's always this sort of like desire to speak to that experience whenever you're put in a space where you're doing an interview, where it's like, hey, what's it like for you to, and I understand that it's an important thing to talk about, because the fact of the matter is the playing field is not equal, you know? And so we aren't seeing equal representation across all of these different things. But at the same time, I don't think that people understand that that feels like a heavy burden to put on a person. Like, hey, will you speak for all women in voiceover at the moment? It's just like, whoa, what? Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's true. And it's something that we, I think, are getting better at. What I love, one of the things that's been so interesting about quarantine and this whole time period, honestly, is that people are getting to tell stories, whether it's TikTok or even having the time to sit down and write new concepts, new stories. Like I'm working on a animated pitch with a friend of mine right now that has all non-traditional characters. And the goal is not even for me to have a role in it. I don't want to have a role in it because it's not my story to tell. He has these incredible ideas for non-traditional heroes, and I'm ready. I'm here for it. I want to help make it however we can, because it's time.
In my career, the thing that I'm most proud of is giving myself time and space outside of working to sort of take care of myself and my mental health. That has been the hugest thing for me. I think the hugest lesson, and also the hugest gift. Yeah, we live in this world that's constantly telling us we have to keep acquiring things and acquiring projects and acquiring titles and acquiring awards. And at the end of the day, that's not what makes you happy. I think the thing I'm proudest of is not letting those voices into my world enough to control me. Yeah.
That's incredible. And now mine feels like super pithy.
What is it?
I think one of the things I'm proudest of is learning to listen to the voice in my head. My intuition, my gut, that when something is not right, it's not right. And when it is right, to pursue it, to be dogged about it, and not let anybody else tell me my worth. I had someone very early on in my career who told me I would never make it. I didn't have what it took, and I would be crawling back on my knees begging her for blah, 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 blah. And in my head, I was like, I'm sad that you think that, but that's not my path. And listen, she's lived rent-free in my head for a couple of years, I'm not going to lie, but doing that in spite of it, and knowing my own worth, not letting other people tell me what my worth is.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And I feel like, oh my gosh, so huge. I feel like that's, for me at least, a constant journey. It's like one day I'm like totally in my worth, and I know I'm like, I'm dope. And then someone comes along, says something, and you're like, oh, I got to rethink my entire life. But I totally absolutely agree. There is something so powerful about listening to yourself and trusting yourself and getting to the point where you recognize this question that I've been asking myself. It's actually weirdly like an improv rule, but the question is, are you the crazy one, or is the world the one? And that's right. It's helped me so much. It's like, okay, why am I feeling like this? Is it because I'm crazy, or is it because everyone around me is actually crazy?
I'm curious what part community plays in your life and your career.
Huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a group of probably 15 to 20 really good friends who happen to all be women, who are also actors. And we help each other with auditions all the time. We coach each other through these sort of moments. Like when I thought I failed my 4th audition for episode 8, and my roommate, who's one of these many incredible women in my community, I don't even know if she knew I was auditioning for it. I just made her like hold my hand and cry with me in bed because I was so upset. And community is huge for me. I mean, it's the only reason why I am where I am today, and probably the only reason why with having a community and having a place where you can talk about all these sort of isolating experiences, it makes it less scary. And for me, it's been everything. How about you?
Same, 1,000% same. I've got my girls, and we're ride or die. You know, no matter what
Yeah.
happens, whether we win, we lose, we draw, we travel, we audition, we celebrate, we commiserate. It doesn't matter. They're my people, and my husband is incredible, but he doesn't really understand the business because he's not in it. And so
Yeah.
to be able to have that group of people, men and women, that I trust and I love, and I put a lot of value into
Mm,
always.
mm. Yeah, that's really beautiful. I love that. That is, I know, I'm like, I should go call my friends now. But celebrating with them too, right? Is the best thing.
Yes.
If you have a really big win or a really big success, like it means nothing without your community. Like everyone who
Yeah.
helped you get where you are, and also the reverse. Like one of my best, like the best feeling is when I get a call from a friend and they tell me that they booked something, or they tell me that
Yes.
something's going really well for them, like that. Because it almost feels like we're all on the same team. We're all doing this thing that we thought was impossible at one point, and look at us, like
Yes.
we're doing impossible things together, and that is the best experience.
I have loved talking with you today. Thank you so much. And congratulations on Raya. I can't wait for the world to see it. They're going to fall in love with it just like I did.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's been such an honor and such a treat. And we're gonna switch emails so that we can be friends since you're in LA. It's gonna be awesome.
Deal.
Deal.